Welcome to the 2017 UIM XCAT World Championship, brought to you by the UIM, the World Powerboating Federation, in the role of promoter, with the support of the Chinese organizer, Bahia Blue de Oriente. We are here in Xiamen, in the Fujian province, a beautiful island city with a rich and dramatic history. With tales of pirates and European merchants, Xiamen is emerging as southern China's most sophisticated city. We wrapped up round 2 of this 2017 XCAT World Championship in Weihai just last week. All the buildings you see here on site at each destination are exactly the same. It all has to be packed up on the Sunday night and driven for 50 hours on the back of trucks. It makes for an incredibly efficient and environmentally friendly championship. And a big mention must go to the great team that makes it happen. We have already been treated to some unbelievably exciting World Championship racing this year. First in Chengdu, where there were no surprises, as Victory Team took victory in both the first and the second races of the season. However, round 2 was a different story. One team was the fastest in pole position qualifying, race 3 and race 4 of the 2017 season. That team was Team Australia. The Blue, with its pilots Brett Lerman and Paul Virik-Nielsen, dominated proceedings from start to finish. By the end, it was simply a procession. It left us with Team Australia leading the championship table, Victory Team in second and Team Abu Dhabi in third. But this is a new weekend. Victory Team will expect to find their way back to the top of the podium, and Team Abu Dhabi will look to bounce back from a disappointing start to this season. Elsewhere, the local XCAT of My Fair Xiamen have been threatening all season. And of course, you can never rule out World Championship duo of Arif Al Safain and Nadir bin Hendy in their boat, Al Vazel. One thing that will play into the hands of boat number 8, the Australian team, this is offshore racing at its toughest. Expect big waves on these beautiful warm waters, something the guys from Down Under know very well. A special mention for boat number 22, Catch Your Engineering. At the very end of race 4, just a few days ago, they lost an engine offshore. Unbelievably, they have somehow managed to ready their XCAT for another week of racing. Always quick, but often unpredictable. Be sure to keep an eye out for the Italian team of Alfredo Amato and Danny Martignoni. So here we are, day 0 of the 2017 UIM XCAT World Championship here in Xiamen, round 3 of this year's championship.
So as you know, when we first get the boat, our advantage is to finish it and prepare it for the race and finish the engines and all the wiring and recheck the studs and all that.
If you're really lucky, you didn't have any problems at the last event, because obviously if you have a problem there, we don't have time to do anything. Everything has to be packed up, as you know, before we leave. So we would have to deal with that now. But the whole idea of our job is that we try to prevent that. So we do a lot of scheduled maintenance and try and anticipate what might go wrong.
The main thing, we put the engine in the brackets and we change a little bit of the higher of the engine. We will test this tomorrow if we have overheat or don't. If we don't have, we have another idea to put it in the boat to keep the temperatures lower in our gauges.
We lose the one engine in accident in Weihai under the sea. We don't find. And now with Mr. Alfredo and Danny and my father, we stay here for work about this race.
We are here now in the timing, that is the race control tower, from where all the sea activities are managed in terms of sport, safety, rescue, and sometimes even media. So we are here to give all the instruction to the drivers, to get all the information from our rescue guys and our safety guys in terms of to maintain the race course clean and safe for everybody. In the race control, we have 5 people that are the main people. 3 of them, they are working in the timing system, so the system that permits us to give the classification of the race, so take the time. And the race director, that in this event is Pelle Larsson, he is the one taking care to control all the sport activities around in the race course. Me, that I am controlling in this case all the safety and related to rescue. And then there is Per Benson, that is our UIM commissioner. He is, let's say, observer that the UIM rule is respected from us, first of all, and then from the drivers.
As always, it's a pleasure to be on the XCAT. It's well organized and now everything is running well. And now we have this beautiful place. I have a perfect view of this. I know exactly what's happened. I'm the responsibility for all the race instructions, what's happened there on the water and even on the pit area. And I mean, it's maybe sounds a little bit strange, but it's a nice work. I really like what I'm doing here.
We kicked things off with the opening ceremony, and we were very fortunate to be joined by our UIM president, Rafaela Cooley, the Xiamen authorities, and the local organisers from Bahia Blue de Oriente. This round of XCAT Championship racing was a hot ticket in town, and tens of thousands of people made sure they had a ticket so they could pack themselves into the grandstands that line the beautiful beaches here in Xiamen. Following the opening ceremony, the pole position qualifying got underway. And boy, was this an intense session. High winds brought big waves, which led to a lot of air for our XCATs. You will often hear the XCAT world talk of these machines being half boat, half plane, and today illustrated that point perfectly. However, you can sometimes have too much of a good thing, and after just one qualifying session, the UIM race director, Pelle Larsson, was forced to call off the day's action. We spoke to Pelle shortly afterwards.
That was a quite tough race out there on the Q1, and because of the weather condition, there was too much heavy wind and even the waves. That's on the safety reason we had a red flag on it. I mean, we have to think of the safety, and out there on the Bravo turns and even going back to sea, I mean, that's a lot of waves, a lot of wind is coming, and that's because of the tide water. Now the tide water is going up, then we know the wind is coming. We were sending out the pace cat boat and have a look and checking the race course, and that was actually at the same time we had the checkered flag for 35 minutes. I made a decision to stop the race for safety reason. So there will not be any more Q2 or Q3. We're going to stay with the position from Q1. It looks very, very nice to see the boats flying and all that, but they were flying too much in this time. But for tomorrow, for the race time, that will be a little bit later. So that's going to be a good race day for tomorrow.
Despite the decision having a huge effect on the team's strategies, safety must come first. The story of the week that many people just couldn't believe was that of Catcher Engineering. A week ago, they had just one of their Mercury engines. Just 5 days later, they were sitting pretty on top of the podium as the fastest XCAT in Xiamen so far. The Italian boat would start race 5 of this UIM XCAT World Championship from the front. Here is Alfredo Amato and Danny Marchioni of Catcher Engineering to explain exactly how they turned this week around. You went from one engine last week to pole position this week. How did you do it? Is the obvious question.
It's only luckily. 1 and 1. One lose, one win. Today there is a wave. When there is a wave, this boat, my driver is perfect, and so is our sea. In the moment, I think I am between Napoli to Capri, and so I go very fast.
For me, it's the first time, and the big water, the really big water, Alfredo is like my take it easy, Danny. And before we make a practice, the setup is not really good. When we access there are wake like 75 1 meter, and I say okay, silence and make our job, and our job is amazing. We are for sure lucky because we don't make the Q2, Q3, and for us this is fun, patient and no work. To be honest, not our job, really our job. It's fun and patient. Alfredo is a champion, me I'm nothing. Me I'm come from Inshock, and there are like people like Arizal Zaffini, Carpitel, the guys of Victory, the guys of Abu Dhabi, and today we are in front of both. And then for me, it's a good work and good job.
It's very strange because Danny speaks always, but when I arrive the boat, there is only silence. We are very concentrated. It's only the engine.
Guys, follow us, Instagram, Facebook, XCAT World Championship, so cool.
We woke up for day 2 and we couldn't wait to find out what this XCAT World Championship had in store for us. The waves were not quite so big. Good news given the action was cut short on day 1. However, with a difficult race start, with double starting gates for the 3 banks of XCATs, the start was going to be so important. This course was then set up to be a classic. One to really look forward to for the XCAT purists, given long straights, but also intricate turns. The day's racing will be made up of a start lap, 12 race laps, and then 2 long laps. And we could not wait to get started. We thought that the start might be tricky, and our suspicions proved to be correct, as Victory Team suffered a penalty for not staying in their lanes. Another painful mistake for the Emirati duo. Despite the day of their season so far, Catchy Engineering got off to a bad start, unable to capitalise early on their pole position qualifying session. Team Australia, who had been so quick last week in Weihai, were not as quick here in Xiamen. Something was clearly wrong with their XCAT, and we would find out exactly why a little later on. Catcher Engineering's day then went from bad to worse, suffering a penalty long lap for hitting a buoy. This race had everything. It was non-stop excitement, with so many twists and so many turns. You could not take your eye off it for a second. Towards the end, we were left with a head-to-head battle between Team Australia and the reigning world champions, Arif Al Safain and Nadir bin Hendy in their boat, Al Vazal. This Grand Prix wasn't settled until the final lap, with both Team Australia and Al Vazal delaying their long laps for as long as possible. In the end, by just a few seconds, Arif Al Safain and Nadir bin Hendy brought it home and took a maiden XCAT World Championship Grand Prix victory in 2017. Elsewhere, Catcher Engineering's day had already gone from bad to worse, and it took another slide as they failed to take their penalty lap. Despite finishing the race in third, they were given a further 1 minute penalty, so ended up in P6. Painful day for the Italian duo, who must consider that had it not been for penalties, then they would have been challenging for a top podium spot to supplement their pole position spot that they took in qualifying yesterday. Bad news for the Italians was great news for the Swedes. UIM were promoted up a place and took the third podium spot.
Guys, a crazy race, an eventful race. We struggled to keep track of what was going on half the time. How was it for you in the cockpit?
I think we had quite good flight control because we get so much information on the radio all the time, and I think this race we had like a lot of control on what was going on.
Just when we crossed the finish line we realized, because the 22 boat didn't manage their last long lap, we saw the number 7 boat go first and then the Australian boat, so then we realized and we got first.
We mentioned that the Australian team in boat number 8 was struggling to reach the same speeds as they had done in Weihai. We later found out that they had suffered a broken trim. We spoke to throttleman Paul Verrick-Nielsen about exactly what that means in layman's terms.
I lost the trim on one engine after 8-9 laps, so it was really hard to keep the boat down in the waves. That means everything is like going around the racetrack with a car in third gear all the time. So you need to trim the boat to balance it, to have the acceleration, to keep the nose down in the waves. So without the trim you are completely lost. So I'm glad I had one engine with the trim, but you need both to be 100% perfect.
We were sailing, weren't we?
So tomorrow will be better. We find the problem and we can bounce back tomorrow.
We also asked the guys whether they had come back to the pits thinking they had missed out on a P1 finish, or instead that they had strengthened their grasp at the top of the table.
Well, we had an incident in the first chute. Coming out, Victory lost sight of us and we got airborne and we battled with boats and we got hosed down 3 or 4 times. That's in the first lap. When Powell called that he lost trim, we were in first for 3/4 of the lap, 3/4 of the race. We lost trim, we took a long lap, we looked at where a reef was and we decided let's keep going. We thought we could hold the pace and Powell did an amazing job. And full trim, the boats like this, we're sailing, but he still came home in second, so it was a great effort.
It therefore turned out that a P2 finish was a phenomenal day's work for Team Australia, who strengthened their grasp at the top of the championship table despite that broken trim. However, the story of the day, without a doubt, the story of the season only grew as reigning world champions Arif Al Safain and Nadir bin Hendi in their boat, Al Vazel, came through the pack to snatch victory. Afterwards, we spoke to Arif and Nadir, who explained that they worked like brothers to make it happen today.
Put in our mind how to win in this condition, because we start number 8 and we have 2 long laps and we know exactly what happened, because every lap the wave will coming high. For this reason we make it a really good setup and we will work everything. And I want to say thanks also to our radio man, because he gave us nice strategy to pass the boat who in front of us.
We are very hungry for position number 1. You know, we came from scratch, brand new team, all locals, and we really worked like brothers all together to create this team. And as you saw the last race we came in third, and this race we came in first, so we are really hungry for number 1 position. We had a good plan, especially for today's event. We were a bit nervous because we entered on the 8th position, so we were a bit nervous, but I spoke to Arif, my brother, and we said, listen, we need to push from start till the end, never give up. So that was all of it, and we won, as you can see.
Day 3 kicked off with some more formalities, with a meeting between the UIM and Xiamen University, specifically the Naval Engineering Department. The goal? A long-term partnership between Academy for Powerboating Drivers and Commissioners in Asia. We then headed down to the paddock for some more XCAT racing, but there were concerns straight away. The winds were back, 10 knots with gusts up to 30, This in turn meant waves up to 2.5 meters. There was much discussion, both formal between the UIM and race directors, but also the drivers themselves, who suspected that we might struggle to race today. In the end, it was agreed to amend the course, shortening it with no long laps and introducing 2 shorter laps behind the pace cap, with a view, as always, to ensure safety. However, despite huge effort to get the race underway and 2 short laps behind the pace cap, the course was deemed too dangerous. Therefore, despite the huge crowds here in Xiamen, who were so excited to see some XCAT racing, the teams were led back to the paddocks. We were there waiting to ask the drivers exactly how it felt out there under those conditions.
Today we had the strong wind, the race had to be cancelled because the waves were too tall. We had all the drivers going out for a check of the course, but in the end the decision was to cancel the race. Now we're going to have some interviews with the drivers to have them tell what their feeling were in the cockpit.
It was too much, so the decision was right. So I'm happy they did it because at least one boat will flip straight away. So that was the best way to keep all boats good and continue on the championship in Dubai.
This is rough, but I born in Naples and we go out with every sea. I would race, this is my sea. I test, I go 8 miles, but prefer non-run.
I think it's the right decision because it's really safety for all the driver because it's more than 22 knots windy is I think is a good decision when he canceled the race.
Well, definitely was very good for us because we are on the first pace, so that was a good thing for us. But as you can see, the water condition was not safe at all for all the drivers and all the teams. So it's a good decision from the organization.
Outside there, when you don't push and you go slow as we did, just to check out the race course, the waves was pretty high and you cannot count where they come from or what height they were. So we dived a little bit in the beginning and it was rough and windy as well.
Despite a sullen end to XCAT racing here in China, it has been a fantastic 3 weeks. Tens of thousands of people turned out to watch these XCATs race on these Chinese waters, and the teams themselves have not let them down. Here is Raffaella Cooley, our UIM president, who spoke a little on the success of these events.
We just had our General Assembly and we are very, very proud to have signed an agreement with UNESCO, and we are going to cooperate for our youth development programs in order to train and coach the new generation of drivers to race in an environmentally friendly, which means also the highest respect for the environment, because the sport can be a wonderful vehicle to promote new technologies and to promote environmentally friendly and sustainable transportation, whether on water or on land. And allow me to say that on the offshore side, the XCAT racing is actually representing one of the milestones, not just of the present of our sport, but also of the future of our sport. And we are very happy to be in China, and we are very happy to promote further this discipline.
The 2017 UIM XCAT World Championship is set up perfectly. There are so many narratives. It is so exciting to see how this one will play out. Big thanks to the UIM as promoter, the Chinese Motorboat Federation and Valladolid Oriente for organising 3 amazing stages. We now head down to familiar waters, down to the UAE for the last 2 races of this championship. With 70 points at stake and 6 teams that could still win the UIM XCAT World Championship. We'll see you in just a few weeks.